Welcome to Storied Audio. Daniel was looking around in the little bookstore on Oak Street. It had always been a refuge for him, a place where time slowed down and life felt gentler. He wasn't looking for anything in particular. Maybe a new novel. Maybe just a moment of peace. He drifted through the aisles, trailing his fingers along the spines of books he'd read years ago. When he reached the children's section, he paused. Not for the books, but because someone was already there. A girl, maybe 10 years old, sat cross-legged on the carpet, completely absorbed in a brightly illustrated book about forest animals. Her hair was dark and wavy, falling over her shoulders in a way that reminded him of his sister when she was young. Her nose had the same slight curve as his mother's. Even the way she bit her lip while concentrating felt eerily familiar. He blinked, startled by the sudden jolt of recognition. She looks like me. Not just a little. Not in the vague way children sometimes resemble strangers. This was sharper, deeper, like looking at an old family photograph he didn't remember taking. He glanced around, expecting to see a parent nearby. No one. The aisle was empty except for the girl and the soft rustle of pages turning. A strange unease settled in his chest. He didn't want to stare, didn't want to make her uncomfortable, so he pretended to browse a shelf while keeping her in his peripheral vision. Finally, an elderly woman with silver hair and a gentle smile approached the girl. "There you are, Lily," she said warmly. "Ready to go?" The girl nodded, closing her book carefully. Daniel hesitated, then stepped forward. "Excuse me," he said, trying to sound casual. "Is she your granddaughter?" The woman shook her head. "Oh no, dear. I'm from the Willow Creek home. She lives with us." The words hit him like a cold wind. "The orphanage?" "Yes," the woman replied, studying him with mild curiosity. He swallowed hard. "I know this might sound strange, but she looks like my family. Really looks like us. I can't explain it, but could she be related to me?" The woman's expression softened. She didn't laugh or dismiss him. Instead, she nodded slowly, as if she'd heard stranger things in her lifetime. "If you're serious," she said, "come by the center. We can talk." 3 days later, Daniel found himself sitting in a small meeting room at the orphanage. His hands clasped tightly in his lap. The door opened, and the girl walked in with the same elderly woman. She looked shy but curious, her eyes flicking up to meet his before darting away. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," he replied, offering a gentle smile. "I'm Daniel. I'm Lily." She sat across from him, swinging her legs slightly. The woman gave them space, stepping out but leaving the door cracked open. Daniel cleared his throat. "I wanted to meet you because I saw you at the bookstore. You reminded me of my family." She shrugged, looking down at her hands. "They told me my parents didn't want me. That they gave me up when I was a baby." The words were spoken without emotion, but they carved into him like a blade. No child should say something like that so calmly. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "That must be hard." She didn't answer. "With the director's permission," he continued gently, "I'd like to do a DNA test. Just to see if maybe we're connected." Lily looked up at him then, her eyes wide and searching. "Do you think you're my dad?" The question stole his breath. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I want to find out." She nodded slowly. "Okay." The results came back a week later. Positive. 99.9%. His daughter. Daniel sat in his car outside the orphanage, the paper trembling in his hands. He felt the world tilt, memories rushing back. A woman he'd loved once, a breakup that had shattered him, her sudden disappearance from his life. He had never known she was pregnant. She had never told him. And Lily had grown up believing she wasn't wanted. He wiped his eyes, took a deep breath, and went inside. Lily was waiting in the same room as before, her hands folded neatly in her lap. When he entered, she looked up, her expression unreadable. "Did you find out?" she asked. Daniel sat across from her, his voice thick. "Yes, I did. She held her breath. You're my daughter, Lily. Her eyes widened, filling with tears. She tried to blink away. Really? Really? He whispered. I didn't know. If I had, I would have been there. Every day. I'm so sorry you had to grow up without knowing. She stared at him for a long moment, searching his face for truth, for sincerity, for something she could trust. Are you going to leave too? She whispered. The question shattered him. Never, he said, his voice steady. I'm here now, and I want to be your father. If you'll let me. She hesitated only a second before launching herself into his arms, small and trembling. He held her tightly, feeling her heartbeat against his chest, feeling something inside him settle into place, something he hadn't even known was missing. His mother cried when he told her. His sister screamed, then cried, then hugged him so hard he nearly toppled over. You have a daughter, his sister gasped. His mother cupped his face in her hands. Bring her home, she whispered. Bring her to us. The adoption process began immediately. It wasn't simple. Nothing involving the system ever was. But the orphanage staff adored Lily and were thrilled she had found family. They supported the transition every step of the way. Lily moved in with Daniel 2 months later. At first, she kept her suitcase packed. She slept lightly, waking at the smallest sound. She apologized constantly, for taking up space, for asking questions, for needing things. Daniel reassured her again and again. You don't have to earn your place here. You already belong. Slowly, she began to believe him. He took her to the aquarium, where she pressed her hands against the glass and gasped at the glowing jellyfish. He took her to the mountains, where she saw snow for the first time and laughed as she tried to catch flakes on her tongue. He took her to the little diner he'd loved as a kid, where she discovered a passion for blueberry pancakes. They burned pancakes together on Saturday mornings. They argued about bedtime. They read books side by side on the couch. She taught him how to braid hair. He taught her how to ride a bike. She called him Daniel for a while. Then Dan, then one night when she was half asleep on the couch, she murmured, Dad. He froze, warmth flooding his chest. Yes, Lily. I'm glad you found me. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. Me too. Months passed. Lily unpacked her suitcase for good. She decorated her room with drawings and stuffed animals. She laughed more. She slept deeply. One evening, Daniel found her sitting on the porch steps, watching the sunset. He sat beside her. Do you ever think about before? He asked gently. She nodded. Sometimes. But I don't feel sad like I used to. Why not? She leaned her head against his shoulder. Because I'm not alone anymore. He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. Neither of them spoke for a long time. They didn't need to. The sky faded from gold to pink to deep violet, and the world felt full. Full of possibility, full of healing, full of love that had taken the long way home. Family isn't always planned. Sometimes it's found. And sometimes it finds you. Subscribe to the channel for more audio stories.